Most people think Lamborghini exists because Ferruccio Lamborghini was insulted by Enzo Ferrari. The story is famous. A tractor manufacturer walks into Ferrari's office with a complaint about a clutch. Ferrari dismisses him. Lamborghini storms out and decides to build his own sports car. It is a great story. It is emotionally satisfying. And it contains truth. But it misses the most important part. The insult was not the cause. It was the trigger. What made Lamborghini possible was something far more systematic. A specific set of economic conditions, industrial capabilities, and market structures that had been building in northern Italy for 2 decades. The insult gave Ferruccio permission to act on what he already knew how to do. By 1963, when Lamborghini founded Automobili Lamborghini, he had built an industrial empire worth roughly $30 million. He employed over 1,000 workers. He produced 25 tractors per day. He understood manufacturing at scale, supply chains, metallurgy, and diesel engine technology. The question was never whether Ferruccio could build a car. The question was whether the market structure of Italian luxury manufacturing would allow a newcomer to challenge Ferrari's dominance. And here is what most people do not understand. The same industrial ecosystem that made Ferrari possible in 1947 had evolved by 1963 into something that made Ferrari vulnerable. Let me show you how one man's ego collided with 2 decades of accumulated industrial knowledge. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born on April 28, 1916, in Renazzo di Cento, a small farming community in the Emilia-Romagna region of northern Italy. His father was a grape farmer. The family owned modest land. This was agricultural Italy, where prosperity meant good harvests and economic security meant owning your equipment. Picture what this meant in practical terms. If you were a farmer in 1920s Italy, you depended entirely on animal labor or rented machinery. Every harvest season put you at the mercy of equipment availability and repair schedules. Ferruccio grew up watching this dependency. He understood from childhood that whoever controlled the machines controlled the economics of farming. The conventional narrative says Ferruccio was mechanically gifted. This is true, but incomplete. What made him different was pattern recognition. He saw that the post-war Italian economy would shift from animal power to mechanical power, and he saw it early. By 1940, Ferruccio had attended technical school in Bologna, studying industrial mechanics. He was drafted into the Italian Air Force and stationed in Rhodes. Here is where the official story usually focuses on his mechanical skills. He kept Italian military vehicles running under difficult conditions. But here is what that experience actually taught him: supply chain management under scarcity. How to reverse engineer parts when replacements were unavailable. How to modify existing systems to perform beyond their design specifications. These were not mechanical skills. These were industrial systems skills. When World War II ended in 1945, Ferruccio returned to Italy with something more valuable than mechanical knowledge. He returned with an understanding of how systems fail and how to build resilience into manufacturing processes. Post-war Italy was in ruins, infrastructure destroyed, industrial capacity decimated. But here is what most analysis of this period misses. The destruction created opportunity for those who understood what the rebuilding would require. Italy needed tractors. The Marshall Plan was pouring money into European reconstruction. Between 1948 and 1952, Italy received approximately $1.5 billion in Marshall Plan aid. A significant portion went to agricultural mechanization. Ferruccio saw the pattern. Demand for tractors would explode. Existing manufacturers could not meet capacity. The market was wide open. In 1948, with limited capital, he started a small garage in Pieve di Cento. converting military surplus vehicles into agricultural tractors. Think about what this meant. He was taking equipment designed for war and rebuilding it for farming. He was creating value from waste. The business model was elegant. Low capital requirements, high demand, immediate cash flow. By 1949, Ferruccio had moved beyond conversions. He founded Lamborghini Trattori. He began manufacturing tractors from scratch, using affordable components sourced from other Italian manufacturers. Here is the key. He did not invent new technology. He assembled existing technology more efficiently. His first tractor, the Lamborghini Carioca, used a simple, reliable engine design. It was not revolutionary. It was practical. The price point undercut competitors by approximately 20%. Sales grew immediately. By 1950, Lamborghini Trattori was producing 200 tractors annually. The Italian agricultural sector was mechanizing rapidly. In 1945, Italy had roughly 12,000 tractors in operation. By 1955, that number had reached 87,000. That is a 7-fold increase in 10 years. Ferruccio was riding a structural wave. But here is what separated him from other tractor manufacturers. He understood that reliability created repeat customers faster than innovation. Throughout the 1950s, Lamborghini Trattori expanded aggressively. By 1960, the company employed over 400 workers and produced approximately 1,500 tractors per year. Revenue reached roughly $5 million annually. Ferruccio had become wealthy. But here is what the wealth represented. It was not just capital, it was industrial infrastructure. A factory capable of precision metalwork, a supply chain spanning northern Italy, relationships with component manufacturers, steel suppliers, and engineering talent. And it was knowledge. Knowledge of how to manage production at scale, how to maintain quality control across hundreds of units, how to balance inventory, labor costs, and capital investment. Think about what this meant. When Ferruccio looked at Ferrari in the early 1960s, he was not looking as a fan. He was looking as a manufacturer. And he saw inefficiencies everywhere. Now the stage was set for the collision. Ferruccio had money, industrial capacity, and systems knowledge. What he did not have was permission to enter the luxury car market. That permission would come through insult. The usual explanation focuses on a single moment. Ferruccio owned multiple Ferraris. He loved driving them, but he found them unreliable. The clutches failed repeatedly. In 1963, frustrated by yet another clutch failure, he visited the Ferrari factory in Maranello. He wanted to speak with Enzo Ferrari directly. The meeting, according to most accounts, was brief and dismissive. Enzo reportedly told Ferruccio that a tractor manufacturer could not possibly understand the engineering complexity of a racing car. The insult stung. Ferruccio left, determined to prove Ferrari wrong. This is the story everyone knows. But here's what this story misses. The insult was personal but the decision to build cars was industrial. Let us look at what Ferruccio actually knew by 1963. He knew that Ferrari's clutches were failing because they were sourced from external suppliers and inadequately tested for road use. Ferrari was a racing company that sold road cars. The engineering priorities were inverted. Racing performance came first. Road reliability was secondary. This was not incompetence. This was a business model. Ferrari built approximately 800 cars per year in the early 1960s. Low volume, high price, minimal warranty obligations. Customers accepted unreliability as part of the Ferrari mystique. But here's what Ferruccio understood. That business model had a weakness. It left room for a competitor who could match Ferrari's performance while delivering better reliability. The market existed. Wealthy buyers who wanted exotic performance without constant breakdowns. The question was whether anyone had the industrial capability to serve that market. Ferruccio looked at his own factory: precision metalworking, supply chain management, quality control systems. He had everything Ferrari had, minus the racing pedigree. And he had something Ferrari lacked. He had a tractor company's obsession with reliability. Think about what this meant in practical terms. When a Ferrari clutch failed, it was inconvenient for the owner. When a Lamborghini tractor broke down during harvest season, it cost the farmer money every day it remained broken. Ferruccio's entire business was built on minimizing downtime. This was not aesthetic. This was existential. His reputation depended on machines that worked. He looked at Ferrari's clutch problems and saw not an engineering challenge, but a quality control failure, something he knew how to fix. The insult from Enzo gave him permission to act on what he already understood. On October 30th, 1963, Ferruccio registered Automobili Lamborghini. The initial capital was 12 million lire, equivalent to roughly $500,000. But here is what that capital represented. It was not startup funding. It was expansion capital from an existing industrial operation. Lamborghini was not starting from zero. He was extending an existing manufacturing empire into a new product category. Ferruccio's first decision revealed his strategy. He did not hire racing engineers. He hired the best GT car designers in Italy. He recruited Giotto Bizzarini, who had designed the Ferrari 250 GTO. He brought in Gianpaolo Dall'Ara, a young engineer from Ferrari's development team. He hired Bob Wallace, a New Zealander who understood testing and development. And he made one critical decision that separated him from Ferrari. He would build a grand touring car, not a racing car modified for the road. The priority was road performance and reliability. Racing, if it happened at all, would come later. This was not just a different engineering philosophy, it was a different business model. By early 1964, the Lamborghini team had produced their first prototype. The 350 GTV, unveiled at the Turin Auto Show in October 1963, featured a V12 engine producing 360 horsepower. The design was aggressive. The engineering was sophisticated. But here is what really mattered. The car was designed from the ground up for road use. The clutch was oversized and durable. The suspension prioritized comfort alongside performance. The interior was luxurious. Ferruccio was not building a race car. He was building a car for wealthy businessmen who wanted performance without punishment. The market reception was immediate. Orders came in before production even began. Ferruccio had identified a genuine market gap. The question now was whether he could manufacture at the quality level his reputation required. Production of the 350 GT began in 1964 at a new factory in Sant'Agata Bolognese, roughly 25 kilometers from Bologna. The facility covered 16,000 square meters. Ferruccio invested approximately $2 million in tooling and equipment. But here is where his tractor manufacturing experience became decisive. He built the factory for scalability. Unlike Ferrari's artisanal approach, where each car was essentially hand-built by small teams, Lamborghini's factory used modular production techniques. Components were standardized where possible. Quality control checkpoints were systematic. The goal was not mass production. The goal was consistent production. Between 1964 and 1966, Lamborghini produced 120 units of the 350 GT. That was 120 cars in 2 years. Ferrari was producing roughly 800 cars annually at this time. But here is what the numbers miss. Every Lamborghini that left the factory worked. Reliability rates were dramatically higher than Ferrari's. Word spread quickly among wealthy car enthusiasts. Lamborghini was the anti-Ferrari. Same performance, better engineering, less drama. The pattern was establishing itself. Ferruccio had entered a market dominated by a legendary competitor and had found a weakness, not in performance, in operational execution. Ferrari's strength was its racing heritage. Its weakness was its indifference to customer experience for road cars. Lamborghini's strength was industrial discipline applied to luxury manufacturing. And then Ferruccio made the decision that would define his company's legacy. He would build a car so advanced that it would make Ferrari's engineering look outdated. A car that would prove definitively that the tractor manufacturer understood something Enzo Ferrari did not. In 1966, Lamborghini unveiled the Miura at the Geneva Motor Show. The reaction was immediate and visceral. The Miura was unlike anything else on the road, a mid-engine layout unprecedented in a production car, a transversely mounted V12 producing 350 horsepower, a top speed exceeding 170 miles per hour, a design by Marcello Gandini at Bertone that looked like it had arrived from the future. But here is what made the Miura revolutionary. It was not the specifications. It was the integration. Every system was designed to work with every other system. The mid-engine layout provided better weight distribution. The transverse mounting reduced the car's length. The body design channeled air for cooling. This was not components assembled. This was holistic engineering. Think about what this meant. Ferrari had spent 2 decades building its reputation on racing-derived technology. Lamborghini had spent 3 years studying Ferrari's weaknesses and building something fundamentally better engineered for road use. The Miura's impact on the market was immediate. Between 1966 and 1973, Lamborghini produced 764 Miuras across 3 iterations. At a base price of approximately $20,000 in 1966, equivalent to roughly $180,000 today, the Miura was expensive. But it was not more expensive than a comparable Ferrari. And it was dramatically more advanced. Here is where the pattern becomes unmistakable. The Miura did not outsell Ferrari, but it changed the conversation. Automotive journalists began comparing Ferraris to Lamborghinis instead of comparing Lamborghinis to Ferraris. The tractor manufacturer had become the benchmark. Enzo Ferrari's insult in 1963 had created his most serious competitor. But the insult had not created Lamborghini's capability. That capability had been building since 1948 in tractor factories across Emilia-Romagna. By 1970, Automobili Lamborghini employed approximately 300 workers and produced roughly 150 cars annually. Revenue reached approximately $5 million per year. The company was profitable. But here is what profitability meant in the context of Italian luxury manufacturing. Thin margins, high capital requirements, extreme sensitivity to economic downturns. Lamborghini was successful, but success in this market was precarious. Ferrari survived on racing subsidies and Fiat's backing. Lamborghini had only tractor profits and the personal fortune Ferruccio had accumulated. The business model was vulnerable. And then the vulnerability was exposed. The 1973 oil crisis changed everything. Global oil prices quadrupled between October 1973 and March 1974. Gasoline became expensive and in some markets, scarce. Demand for high-performance sports cars collapsed. Wealthy buyers stopped ordering exotic cars that consumed fuel at rates exceeding 10 miles per gallon. Lamborghini's order book evaporated. Between 1973 and 1974, production dropped from approximately 400 units annually to fewer than 150 units. Revenue fell by more than 60%. The company was losing money every month. Ferruccio faced a choice: inject more capital from his tractor business or walk away. Think about what this meant. The tractor business was also struggling. Agricultural mechanization had plateaued. Competition had intensified. Margins had compressed. Ferruccio was wealthy, but not infinitely wealthy, and he was approaching 60 years old. He had proven his point. He had built a supercar company from nothing and forced Ferrari to take him seriously. The insult had been answered. The question now was whether the answer was worth his fortune. In 1974, Ferruccio Lamborghini sold 51% of Automobili Lamborghini to Swiss businessman Georges-Henri Rossetti. The sale price was approximately $600,000. That was roughly 20% of what Ferruccio had invested since 1963. He was exiting at a loss. By 1974, he had sold his remaining stake. He was out completely. The company he had built to prove Enzo Ferrari wrong would continue without him. But here is what the sale actually represented. It was not failure. It was the recognition that luxury car manufacturing required different resources than Ferruccio possessed. Ferrari survived because Fiat provided unlimited backing. Lamborghini could not survive because Ferruccio had limits. The pattern was clear. Personal wealth could build a supercar company, but only institutional capital could sustain one. What happened next reveals the deeper truth about Lamborghini's legacy. Under new ownership, the company struggled through the 1970s. Multiple owners, financial instability, inconsistent production. The Countach, introduced in 1974, maintained Lamborghini's reputation for cutting-edge design. But production volumes remained low. Between 1974 and 1978, the company built fewer than 500 cars total. In 1978, the company declared bankruptcy. It was purchased by Italian brothers Jean-Claude and Patrick Mimran in 1980. They stabilized production but could not scale it. In 1987, Chrysler Corporation acquired Lamborghini for $25 million. Chrysler invested heavily, but could not make the business profitable. In 1994, an Indonesian investment group bought the company. By 1998, Lamborghini was again facing financial collapse. And then, Volkswagen AG, through its Audi division, acquired Automobili Lamborghini for approximately $110 million. Here is what that acquisition represented: validation of Ferruccio's original insight. Lamborghini's engineering was superior, its designs were revolutionary, its brand had enduring value. What it lacked was not capability, it was capital. Volkswagen provided what Ferruccio never could: unlimited investment in research and development, access to advanced manufacturing systems, a global distribution network, institutional stability. Under Audi's ownership, Lamborghini's annual production increased from approximately 250 units in 1998 to over 10,000 units by 2022. That is a 40-fold increase in 24 years. Revenue exceeded $2 billion in 2022. The company Ferruccio built to answer an insult had become one of the world's most valuable luxury automotive brands. But it took institutional capital to realize the potential Ferruccio had identified in 1963. So let us connect all the pieces. The story of Lamborghini is told as a story about ego. An insult leads to revenge. Revenge leads to success. It is emotionally satisfying, but it misses the mechanism. What made Lamborghini possible was not Ferruccio's anger. It was his industrial knowledge, accumulated over 15 years building tractors. The insult gave him permission to deploy that knowledge in a new market. But the knowledge came first. The capability came first. The insult was the trigger, not the cause. And here is what this reveals about innovation in luxury manufacturing. New entrants do not succeed by matching incumbent capabilities. They succeed by identifying weaknesses in incumbent business models. Ferrari's weakness was not engineering. It was indifference to road car reliability. Lamborghini's advantage was not design. It was manufacturing discipline applied to exotic cars. The pattern says this: industrial capability matters more than passion. Capital matters more than capability. And institutional backing matters more than personal fortune. Ferruccio built Lamborghini with tractor profits and personal determination. But Lamborghini only reached its potential when Volkswagen provided the institutional resources Ferruccio never had. The insult created motivation, but motivation without capability is fantasy, and capability without capital is temporary. Today, Lamborghini produces more cars in a single year than Ferruccio produced in his entire ownership. The brand he built is worth billions. But here is the question that remains. Would Ferruccio have sold in 1974 if he had known what Lamborghini would become? Would he have held on through the oil crisis, the bankruptcies, the ownership changes, if he had seen the future? The evidence says no, because Ferruccio was not building a legacy brand. He was answering an insult. And once the answer was delivered, once he had proven a tractor manufacturer could out-engineer Enzo Ferrari, the purpose was fulfilled. The company continued. The brand endured. But the man who started it walked away. That is not failure. That is understanding that some victories are personal, and some require resources beyond any individual. Ferruccio Lamborghini died on February 20th, 1993, at age 76. He lived long enough to see his company survive bankruptcy and multiple owners. He lived long enough to know his name would endure. But he never saw the company reach its full potential under Volkswagen's ownership. The insult was answered in 1966 with the Miura. Everything after was someone else's story. And that might be the most important revelation of all. The supercar empire was not built to last forever. It was built to prove a point. Once proven, the builder moved on.